Alright, what is up YouTube? So today I'm going to be showcasing my Shaddoll Invoked deck for December 2020 post Banlist. I know a lot of people are hyped to play Shaddolls because in previous formats there was more combo, and this deck just lost to a lot of hand traps because a lot of people were playing a lot of hand traps in the previous format. But now a lot of people are focusing more on trap cards, or they're playing stuff like Virtual Road or Drytron. So there's less hand traps in the format. There's still hand traps in the format, but you don't have to deal with like 3 to 4 hand traps when playing this deck, because I felt like this deck just kind of lost going second against Infernobles and Dragon Link. Obviously, you can't use Super Poly, or you can't summon from the extra in general, and then they Smoke Grenade your only fusion card, or they they get rid of the only staple card like Dark Ruler to break their board. Like it wasn't really good for Shaddolls in general. So I'm just going to be showcasing Shaddolls Invoked. I'm not going to be playing any Dogmatica, and I'll be giving you guys some budget alternative because I feel like a lot of people are definitely looking for budget options when playing this in IRL events like remote duels and stuff like that. So let's get on with the deck profile. I've rambled on for long enough. I know I hate people that have like 1 minute intro, so I'm definitely going to get started. 3 Squamata. It's pretty standard. 3 Windy. These are like your best Shaddolls. And then for the next ones, you have the 2 Bees and the 2 Hedgehog. These can definitely be 3-ofs if you really want to play them, but like just for staples sake and just to have more room in your deck, I can cut these down to 2. And then for the other Shaddolls, you play 1 Aria for the combo. You play the light Shaddoll. I'm not going to say the name, but it's like Kaios or something like that. This is only really good as a light Shaddoll. You can search with the Hedgehog. Other than that, the card's not really good. Shaddoll, Dragon, wish this card had like a hollow print, but it doesn't. Really good for popping cards. I know you could probably bump this up to 2 if you really want to. If you don't want to play this, you could play like 2 Dragon, or 3 Beasts or 3 Hedgehog. It doesn't really matter. I really like this card though in this format. Being able to pop a lot of different cards, and just setting the card in general when you brick is also a little bit nice. For the other Shaddolls, we're playing the 3 Shaddoll Fusion, L Shaddoll Fusion, and then the 3 Shaddoll Fusion. You want to maximize on your Shaddoll spell cards. Just really nice. Having polys is always really nice when you're playing a fusion deck. So that's it for the Shaddoll cards. Let's move. Well, that's not it. We have 2 other cards. We have the Shaddoll Schism and the Resh Shaddoll Incarnation. So these cards are really important. Don't forget that you can fusion summon with this card on both main phases. Also, you can send a card to the graveyard that has a same type as the fusion monster summon. And then this card is really decent. I mean, for the most part, you're going to be using it for the Aria, but it's really good to summon back your Shaddolls from the graveyard, which is really good. You don't need more than 2 of this. I know a lot of people who do play 2 Schism, or they play 2 Resh, but like these 2 cards are searchable. You don't really need to play more than 1. So now for the Shaddoll, not the Shaddoll. Now for the Invoked engine, we play the 3 Alistair. We play the 3 Meltdown, and then the 1 Terraforming. And for lastly, we have the 3 copies of the expensive card, Invocation. I'll be showcasing budget options. I know a lot of people don't have, invocations, or they don't have, invoke stuff in general. They get reprinted. I mean, yeah, you might have to spend like $60 or, $70. They get 3 copies of Invocation. But if you do have the money and you love this deck, it's probably worth it to, get the Invoked engine. If not, I have budget alternatives. I'll get that in a bit. Then for the rest of the cards, you play the 2 Trick Clown. Well, not to 2. 2 Damage Juggler, 1 Trick Clown. These are just light targets for your Shaddoll Construct. Really good. This can also stop damage, so if you really want to, you can just use this to kind of block your opponent from OTKing you or something like that. And then Trick Clown is just good for a level 4 body. And then for the last 2 cards, we have the Nibiru and the Ash Blossom. These are just really good hand traps. This is not really good against, Eldritch, Ultra Guys, Guru, any trap deck, Dogmatica Invoke. So it's not really good, but it's a light target for your Shaddoll. Ash Blossom as well is just really generic. It's really good with your Purga Trio, so that's really good. They're just the best hand traps you can play. You can also main deck other hand traps like Ogre, Veiler, Gamma, stuff like that. But for the most part, these are just like the best hand traps you can play. So that is the main deck. Let's get on to the extra deck. For the extra deck, we play the 2 Shaddoll Construct, the 1 Al Capone. You can bump this up to 3 if you really want to. You can bump this up to 2. I know a lot of people do play 2 sometimes, or they play 3 Construct, but for space-wise, you just need 2 and 1. And then for the Winda, you play 3 Winda. This is your best card. There's no reason not to play 3 of this. I mean, if you want to fit in more, extra deck space, you can, but for the most part, you want to play, 3 Winda. Then we have the Purga Trio, which is really good for OT King. Also, wiping boards. I'm not going to pronounce his name. I'm just going to call it August. But the Invoked, Fusion. Yeah, it's really good for popping cards. It's also really good for OT King as well. So if you want not only a body on board that can interrupt, and also like a OTK card, you can play this. I really think it's really good, especially when you have all these Shaddolls and you have them in the graveyard. So with the second effect, you could banish one of your Shaddoll fusions from the graveyard to kind of boost the attack for game. So you don't always have to make Brawl Sword, or you don't have to make Access Code if you have those. And then the 1 Merkaba. I feel like these are the necessary ones. You can play Raijin, you play Caliga, but I feel like they're just more like dead in most cases. You'd rather have more staple cards than have stuff like that. So for the Link monsters, you play the 1 Brawl Sword. This is really important. Brawl Sword is really good for OT King. I don't think Access Code is good in this deck because you have so many fusion monsters and so little Link monsters that you're never gonna really have any fuel for your Access Code. You might as well just play Brawl Sword. 1 Apollousa. This is really good for interruption with the combo involving Arya and the Resh Shaddoll incarnation. The 1 Phoenix. You can play Unicorn as well. I don't play Unicorn because just space. So Phoenix is just really good for getting rid of back row. Then we have the Secure Gardener, which is pretty good with the Alistair. Then we have the Almirage, which is really nice. We have the Cross Sheep, which is really good for the combos. It's really good for anything involving Shaddolls because fusions are really good. And then we play the 1 Gravity Controller, which is pretty nice to get your Shaddolls in graveyard turn 1. So you can add back the El Shaddoll Fusion or the Schism. So that is it for the Link monsters. Let's get on to the budget alternatives, because I feel like this is more of a budget deck. It's not really playing Dogmatica, so I might as well just show off some budget cards you can replace for the Invocations or Alistair, or if you don't want to play Damage Juggler, or you just want to cut down the copies of Shaddolls for more staple cards. So for the extra deck, we have Tornado Dragon. You can play this as well. Tornado Dragon is actually pretty decent as a card. Getting rid of a lot of back row in this format is just really nice. Best Dweller, really good against Drytron, Virtual World, Eldritch, like you name it. Like this card is actually much better in this format right now. So definitely have these as options. Even like if you're not on a budget, these 2 cards are actually just really insane. I'd probably side deck these if I was actually playing in a remote duel event. Then we have the IP Masquerena. This card is actually really good if you're playing Unicorn Phoenix. You can go into Apollousa as well. Really nice. Cerberus is really good. Just more nightmares, more staple Link monsters. This could also be like if you do have access code, you can play more Link monsters, stuff like that. Just have options. That's all really good. We have the Unchained Abomination. Now this card is just like a really good generic Link 4 that you could just run in your deck if you don't have like Apollousa, or if you don't have World Sword. This card is actually pretty decent. I would definitely play this if you just need a replacement for those cards. Now for the other cards, you can play the Super Poly and the Super Poly targets. You don't have to play the Draco Stapelia exactly, but you can play like the other Shaddoll cards, like the Water one, the fire one, maybe even the wind one if you really want to, you know, counter virtual worlds. Or you might want to play like Starving Venom, Mud Dragon. Like there's a lot of, you know, super poly targets. But in general, I don't have a space for this, so I'd probably not side this either. But, you know, always have the option to play that. And then the last two cards is the really important ones. If you have more hand traps, you can play them. Lancey is like the best one because it's a light monster. It's also really good against Virtual Worlds and Eldritch. There's also like, you know, Alistair as well in the mirror match where you're playing against Dogmatica Invoke. So this card is actually really good. I think you could main deck this potentially. Even if it's dead against like a matchup, if you're playing against like, I don't know, Ultrageist, yeah, it's still like a light target for your Shaddoll construct, so that's really nice. And then for the last card, this is the replace your Invoker. I think Vision Hero Vion is really good because it's not only a dark monster, which can make Winda, but you can also, you know, search Poly, so that's really good. Having more copies of Poly is really good as a normal summon. So any like monster that can like search Poly that is also a dark is really good. So Black Sheep is like another replacement you can play. You can also play like, I guess, Fusion Recycling Plant with like Poly, which is a little bit decent, but for the most part, this is like your best replacement if you're looking for something to replace the Invoker. So that is it, guys. Let me know what you guys think about Shaddoll Invoked in this format. I think they are pretty decent. I think if you're playing online, you definitely play like the Dogmatica stuff with like Nadir Servant and, you know, the Al Capone engine to, you know, facilitate your Schism. And the Dogmatica stuff is also really good with Maximus to send, you know, your Shaddoll cards to the graveyard. Also sending like Titanclad. So definitely play the Dogmatica stuff if you do have them. If not, you know, you can just play simply this list. I feel like this list is definitely not, you know, okay, the Dogmatica stuff is really strong. It does help this deck a lot, but I feel like you can still do very well with this deck, even on a budget if you're replacing the Invokers. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. I have rambled on for long enough. I felt like just because I had this deck, I might as well just profile it for you guys and showcase kind of like a go-to list to kind of start off with if you're trying to get back into Shaddolls as a deck. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.